The challenge that silenced the greatest. The gym was packed, the air thick with the smell of sweat and anticipation. Muhammad Ali, the king of the ring, the man who floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee, faced his guest with a provocative smile. Bruce Lee, the martial arts master, was there not as an opponent, but as a legend being put to the test. Ali couldn't resist the challenge. They say you're fast. Let's see if you can dodge that. The two were in the center of an improvised circle, surrounded by fighters, coaches, and journalists. There, with his imposing wingspan, he moved with the lightness of a dancer, his fists loose, his eyes shining with amusement. Bruce, smaller and more compact, remained motionless, his muscles relaxed, but his senses sharp as blades. There were no gloves, no rules, just the promise of a reflex test. Ali rushed forward suddenly, his right fist slicing through the air towards Bruce's face. It was a quick blow, but not the fastest he had ever thrown. Bruce, however, didn't move like a boxer. He didn't retreat, he didn't block. Instead, his body seemed to disappear for an instant, as if time itself had hesitated. The punch passed inches from his chin, so close that the wind from the attack brushed his skin. Ali smiled, impressed. Okay, but that was just the warm-up. He spun, throwing a left hook with enough force to fell a bull. Bruce, however, was no longer where the blow was looking for him. His body leaned back at an impossible angle, as if his bones were made of rubber, and Ali's fist met only emptiness. The spectators held their breath. Ali was known for his speed, but here, in front of Bruce, he looked like a man moving in slow motion. The champion tried again, this time with a follow-up, right, hook, uppercut. Bruce dodged each of them with minimal, almost lazy movements, as if he was playing with his opponent's rhythm. Sometimes he tilted his head to the side, others, he rotated his torso in a fluid movement. No blow touched him. There he stopped, panting, but still smiling. Man, you're faster than they say. Bruce didn't respond right away. Instead, he extended his hand, inviting Ali to try one more time. The champion accepted, but now with a different expression, less of provocation, more of respect. This time, Ali didn't attack with force. He moved slowly, testing, looking for an opening. Bruce remained still, his eyes fixed on Ali's, as if he could foresee every movement before the thought even formed in the boxer's mind. When Ali finally threw a punch, Bruce didn't dodge. Instead, he raised his open hand and touched Ali's wrist just as the blow was coming, redirecting its trajectory with a gentle push. Ali's fist went wide, off balance. He staggered, surprised, and Bruce took the opportunity to step forward, placing his palm on the champion's chest. "You are strong," he said, "but strength without precision is just noise." Ali laughed, shaking his head. "You're good, Bruce. Really good." There was no challenge in the voice anymore, just admiration. The two men shook hands, and the gym erupted in applause. Ali, the invincible, had just been surpassed, not in strength, not in boxing technique, but in something more fundamental, the art of seeing the invisible and moving before movement existed. Bruce Lee left with a calm smile. "I didn't need to prove anything to anyone." But for those who witnessed it, one thing was clear: the true master does not fight his opponent. It dances with time. Final chapter, the legacy of the movement. The days that followed were strangely silent for Bruce. The gym, once a haven of murmurs and sidelong glances, now treated him with an almost religious reverence. Even the most skeptical coaches, those who had ridiculed his unorthodox style, now approached him with timid questions about that thing he did to Ali. Bruce responded with a nod, but didn't linger. It wasn't about teaching. It was about being. A week later, a brown envelope arrived at his home in Hong Kong. Inside, a handwritten letter on New York Times letterhead and a formal invitation to a public demonstration at Madison Square Garden. The sender? Muhammad Ali. "I want the world to see what I saw," the letter said. "Not as adversaries. As brothers." Bruce read the words twice before folding the paper carefully. It wasn't a challenge. It was recognition. Madison Square Garden was packed on that cold November night. Not just from boxing fans, but from martial artists of all disciplines, karatekas in impeccable GIs, jiu-jitsu fighters in heavy GIs, even a group of Tai Chi masters who had traveled from China especially for the event. In the center of the ring, a single mat had been laid out, and on it, two men, Ollie, standing, with his gloves hanging over his shoulder, and Bruce, barefoot, wearing only black pants and a white t-shirt. The public expected a fight. But what they saw was something different. Ollie started with a slow, almost lazy punch, as if he was just warming up. Bruce didn't move. When the fist came inches from his face, he disappeared, not to the side, not back, but within the movement, as if the space around him had folded. The audience held its breath. Ollie laughed in surprise and tried again, this time with a high kick. Bruce ducked, but not like someone who ducked, like someone who allowed the attack to pass him by, like a leaf bending in the wind. So, Bruce counterattacked. Not with punches. Not with kicks. With touches. A finger brushed Ollie's shoulder, causing him to spin slightly. An open palm pressed against his chest, not forcefully, but precisely, as if adjusting a watch. Ollie tried to react, but his every movement seemed to find only air. It was like fighting a shadow that anticipated your every breath. In the end, Ollie stopped, hands on his knees, panting. Bruce was still, as if he hadn't even moved. The champion looked at him, eyes shining. "Dude, what is this?" Bruce smiled. "That's what happens when you stop fighting what you see and start dancing with what you feel." The audience exploded. Not in applause, but in something deeper, a stunned silence, followed by an ovation that shook the gym's rafters. Ollie held out his hand, and Bruce shook it. Not as opponents. Like two men who had finally understood that true martial art was not about winning, but about understanding. Years later, when asked about that night, Bruce Lee responded with a simple sentence, "I didn't fight Ollie. I fought time. And time, my friend, always wins." But the story didn't end there. Video of the demonstration spread like wildfire. In dojos in Japan, in gyms in Los Angeles, in favelas in Rio de Janeiro, men and women watched that impossible dance and felt something break inside them. It wasn't about Bruce. It wasn't about Ollie. It was about the possibility that maybe, just maybe, there was a way to move through the world without being crushed by it. And so, unintentionally, Bruce Lee did what no champion had ever done. He changed the game without even getting into it. In the end, he returned to Hong Kong, to his school, to his students. But something had changed. Training was no longer about techniques. They were about listening. About feeling the weight of the air, the rhythm of breathing, the music hidden in the simplest movements. One night, as he closed the dojo, one of his younger students asked, "Sifu, what did you learn from Ollie?" Bruce looked up at the full moon over the rooftops of Kowloon. Then, with a smile that carried the weight of all the battles he never had to fight, he replied, "I learned that the greatest opponent is not in front of you. It is within you. And the only way to defeat him is to stop fighting." And so, the legend closed, not with a punch, but with a sigh. Not with a victory, but with a surrender. Because at the end of the day, true martial art has always been about letting go.